looking inside for their needs in life. They wanna be like by everybody in sight, but trust me, being free ain't spotlights. No, it's long nights and it's long fights with yourself all the time to get your mind right. But if you put in the work, you can find the light. Alright, I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, keys to age, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? I'll just breathe in. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, keys to age, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? I'll just breathe in.
Well, that's all I got for an intro because I didn't want to put anything Doctor Strange in it. Hi, Script. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
That was a better soundtrack than what I've watched. I'm just gonna drink my tea right now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing all right. I got to watch Multiverse. I think you did too, and we're here doing spoilers. So this is a spoiler warning thing. We're gonna go through a Reddit feed as well as personal thoughts and pretty much other things. But how do you feel about this so far?
Swing and a miss. That's yeah. I mean, as some of the other people on YouTube have been commenting, and even on some Twitter and social media, the movie it's got a weird narrative, feels a little disjointed. There's a lot of character conflict going on that doesn't quite reconcile with each other, so they feel a little bit more compartmentalized. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like Sam Raimi directed the majority of this film. It definitely feels like he came in at the last minute, shot a handful of scenes himself, and kind of just went about on his way and hoped for the best, sort of thing, for however Marvel wanted to do this.
Did it in any way feel like they were taking I know they took stuff from the What If series they did on Disney Plus. I could feel it in there.
Oh yeah.
They went all the way back even from properties that they didn't own yet at the time and tried to throw everything in there. It wasn't just cameos of people or characters within the Marvel universe. It was cameos with music as well, and that kind of bothered me in certain aspects. If you know what I'm
I hope Ron Wasserman gets a little piece of that music, because he did the X-Men theme for the cartoon as well as Power Rangers.
And Pantera did the theme, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Pantera who did the guitar riff, and everyone's like, yeah, I'm sorry, we're streaming, and hopefully people will actually come in and watch. But did anyone else feel like? I honestly feel like Professor X was sitting in a giant metal banana hammock.
The thing is that it felt less like a chair and closer to Captain Pike's life support system.
Yes, yeah.
Which is ironic because, Anson Mount's like to his right or to his left in that shot.
Oh my god!
Because it had like this carving out that felt more like you're sitting in type of like a ride, like a compartment for a roller coaster, as opposed to just being an advanced type of wheelchair.
Yeah.
I mean, we are jumping way ahead on this, but that you're right.
Well, it came out the link, so I am jumping way ahead, and I do feel bad. Well, I did feel real bad. Okay, now my mic's being weird. Let's try that again.
No, it's okay.
Cool. But there was parts you could enjoy and parts you couldn't. I don't want to even know if I should show images or not, because I don't want Marvel coming at my ass. But where do you want to start first? Should I go to the Reddit feed and start with the first initial point? Hi, Leah.
Yeah, let's do the Reddit feed, the Reddit feed, and talk a little bit about this. While that's getting brought up, I will say you can really tell based on the level of dye they used in Stephen Strange's goatee, what was shot, how that's a different shooting schedule than the pickups and the reshoots, because there's some parts where it's kind of more faded and softer, and then there's other parts where it's like a harsh dark black.
You could also say with the white stripes too, because like even with the variants they're using throughout the multiverse, you could see like those sides difference too. And maybe I was just picking into it, but like remember looking, yeah, I agree.
There were some, but like for the core Doctor Strange that we're following, you can see, oh yeah, they shot this probably a year ago, and then because his goatee's one way, and then we see a whole slew of other scenes peppered out where his goatee's a lot darker, more better coiffed, so to speak, more sharper, and you're like, oh, that has to be either before the reshoots, or maybe that's part of the reshoots. You can't really tell. And then the variants have their own little quirks, like no mustache or no goatee or a full beard, like in this one here, and different positions of the whites. Yeah,
the dark one, the dark Strange, because since we're dealing with multiverse here, dude, the fact that he didn't like even cut it a little bit or braid it, and it was just like sticking out there, like I'm like, I hope you don't eat ice cream with that thing, because it was like way down. Like I felt like I was looking at Dr. Hick Strange, because he was just sitting there with this long ass beard, and he looked like one of these obsessive stalkers that you would just be like, I don't want to be anywhere near you, or look like whoever you're attracted to. And the reason why I bring this scene up, because pretty much as we're going from Reddit, this is pretty much, they put way too much in the trailer. Do you agree?
Yeah, they did. They put the best stuff they could to fabricate the narrative that's in the movie, and it also kind of shows how much in the movie is not actually needed or relevant for the goals of the story, because it does focus around the character that we see on the left here, America Chavez, and her struggle is that she doesn't know how to control her powers. Only through intense emotion like fear does it trigger and allows her to go to a place, and the fear that triggers it basically sends her to some place that is safer for her than the current situation.
It has an instinct property, even though she knows she doesn't control it. It's pretty much the fear triggers a safe place throughout the multiverse for her.
Yes, at that moment in time, and that's where she ends up going. I wish there was more for that, because the actress is actually pretty decent.
She did good.
I really liked her. She's got an incredible body, because they're doing a bunch of really specific shots to highlight her legs and her figure, because it's like I know many women, my girlfriend included, they'd be like, "Ooh, wow, those legs are good. I want legs like that." And I'm just like, "You're fine, honey." But
she's Canadian though, isn't she? She's Canadian.
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. But no, her story is that she has a good want, which is she kind of wants to find her parents, and but she's also being chased by some sort of demonic entity that wants her powers, and because she can't control it, it makes others that are around her very tempted to try and take the powers from her so that they can control it and fight this enemy that's after those powers, because they have more experience and more knowledge and whatnot. And
the other thing that it says is like pretty much this opens up I gotta give appreciation to how this opened up. You get the stupid little Marvel like logo like we're all used to seeing, and we're watching the fall of Marvel throughout the different things they're throwing there, where it goes from like Iron Man, Captain America. I'm gonna mock that logo because it literally shows their own timeline of destruction. It syncs perfectly, and then it
has that peak, and then as soon as you see the Captain Marvel thing, it's like, oh, that's the decline.
It's where it's like, I remember those good years. Oh, fuck me in the ass. But then bam, you're opening up, and I'm sorry, Doctor Strange runs funny. He has the Steven Seagal meme run. I am not gonna lie, he literally does throughout the movie. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you laugh, but he does.
It's okay.
He literally does. He looks like when he runs, it looks like he has something like wedged in his butt crack, like a pencil that he's trying not to drop the whole time. And I couldn't stop looking at it because I replayed it a couple times. But we get blasted in, and we're going to go from the Reddit post, so no one take us too seriously. We're going to add what we can. So pretty much the movie opens, and we have Defender Strange. What we're looking at right now is Defender Strange and American Chavez, and they're running away from their pursuer, which is pretty much a creature, demon, however you want to call it, right? And it's in this supposedly in a destroyed purple universe, but it looks
It's like the
Well,
universe between universes sort of thing.
yeah, it's like the realm between realms, like where we have Man Thing guarding the different doorways depending on where you're going, on whether it's the place above, place below, or in the middle, aka Purgatory.
Yes.
Marvel Studios. And then pretty much they're getting chased, and this thing is overpowering them at the same time because their main goal is to reach the book of Ashanti. Ashanti, I hope I'm saying
Which
that
is
right.
like the antithesis to the Darkhold, and if you've ever watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's like 2 seasons completely dedicated to that book. So you,
As
for
well as
those who don't know, that's one of the earlier references of it.
and it seems to flow pretty good. I feel like I actually am in a comic book. It feels like when we're watching those multi-parts from the X-Men series. If this is the way it feels like it's built, like it's an X-Men cartoon from the 90s, because there's a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of hyper focus on the characters with those colors, and there's a lot of special effects in here. I feel like most of the movie was done in a green screen, like most of
It's
it.
probably green screen, stagecraft, a couple of other special effect techniques. A lot of wire work, fairly well done wire work actually.
Go ahead.
Like all the technical aspects of it, I didn't have too much of an issue with, aside from, I mean, one of the worst parts about computer generated images and effects is the fact that after so many years of it being kind of part of the standard for audiences, you kind of don't buy into it anymore after so many views of various different attempts at it. So there just wasn't any, like, the special effects were fantastic for what they are, but they just weren't convincing enough anymore for me as an audience. Whereas if I were to go back to see something like The Thing, all the special effects in there still hold up, and you're like, they still creep you out. And the stuff that they do here, the grandiose size of it, the scale of it, it kind of divorces your investment a little bit from that, especially with all the light shows that go on as well. Because is the monster that's in the scene that's clipped from this trailer, pretty interesting, but it does do one thing that always bothers me in storytelling, and that's when the characters stop while they're pursuing their object to just kind of admire or fear or ogle the enemy in their way, which is being somehow either impeded or apprehended. And that's what we have in this scene here is Defender Strange. He manages to capture this demon that's pursuing them, and America Chavez doesn't. And there's like the book is in sight. It's basically like 20 feet away, and she makes no effort to go after it because they already established in the scene we need that book in order to stop this. And instead of her going after it immediately when the thing is kind of like halted, they just stand there and watch it. And
They have a Kodak moment. Yeah.
And he's just struggling for a good minute and a half, saying, "I can't hold it." And it's like, I'm just thinking the instinctual aspect is go for the book, because if that's the goal, you get your book. Then it doesn't matter if you can hold it or not. You have the book. You cast the spell. You can do what you got to do, because this is all laid out in this opening scene.
Yeah,
and it just feels that's what I usually call like a contrived reason. There's nothing there to stop them from going any further, unless it's a personal fear, which is not conveyed at all, because they're both really pretty much just silent and saying, "I can't hold it," and she's not doing anything, just standing there. And the fact that the character's not saying, "Go get the book," bring it to me, or anything of that nature, it's basically like, okay, this is the obvious act of the writer kind of showing that the writer is in control of the story, as opposed to selling us on the idea that the characters are in control of what's going on.
That's what. Yeah, I agree. That's what bothers me. Is like the whole Kodak moment. This thing is the opposite of the Darkhold. So it has that much. It's the same, pretty much the same amount of power, but in good. And the thing is, she could have gone for it, and then it could have been the whole thing trying to find the book. Is the fact that the waypoint. Oh, sorry, my bad. This book and this altercation, what could have happened? It could have knocked the book throughout the multiverse, and that's where Chavez could have came into effect. Not only are they on the run, but they're also in search of the book across the multiverse. And I know they claim that there's different versions of these things all across the multiverse, but
I mean, they technically said there's only really one book of each, so to speak. But regardless of that point, you actually bring up a great additional conflict to that would be beneficial to a story like this, where in their pursuit of it, like seizing the opportunity that is before them, and also establishing the fact that Defender Strange can't hold that creature, you could have a very plausible situation where she grabs the book, the creature breaks free and panics her just as at the right moment, where the book goes into one multiverse and then she goes into another, and it's like, I don't know where that book is. I don't know how to control the multiverse. I know it's lost somewhere. And now she's in this new verse with Doctor Strange. And now she has a goal as opposed to just running away to survive. Her goal is, I need to now only run away to survive. I need to find a way to find that book, since the Defender Strange that I was friends with made very convincing arguments that this was the salvation to stop this pursuer. So you have those multi-tiered aspects of a drive and a goal. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got things very kind of separated, compartmentalized, individualized. It was.
It's like they had to tell you why they didn't go for the book by saying how terrified they are of this demon.
Or the other part too is like he could be yelling at her, "Go for the book." She's like, "I can't. I'm scared." He's like, "I'm do everything I can to protect you. Just go for it." And that's part of that some type of dialogue of that nature would go into or would build off of the very kind of theme for that character that comes in towards a climax of a film, and specifically this one. You know, a character overcoming doubt and fear. That's a great motivation for a hero to achieve in an arc.
Yeah, and so and then we're seeing this. I can see where I think some of the Raimi stuff came in, like where he gets sliced in the leg. I was like, oh, okay. You don't usually see that in a Marvel film at all, like that amount of, you know what I mean, deep cut blood. And I was like, all right, this is getting pretty cool. So I can see where the Evil Dead aspect of Raimi was in this, even from the beginning. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Like there's definitely significant parts where they're trying to like throw this in, the shock value, the form of cinematography, the angles, the idea of trying to convey a sense of fun with what's going on around them, as well as danger. Like that's a very good Raimi part. Unfortunately, we were talking a bit before the show, there's really only a handful of them that are very specifically true of Raimi, and everything else kind of feels like an echo or a shadow, or like someone else was doing all the heavy lifting, and probably did before Raimi was even brought on board.
All right. Should we go through the opening, because we're going to be here forever, or do you want to? Is there anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, because we get that part of the story, and then we kind of do a reset, so to speak, where they bring in an interesting idea, which is a really cool idea, which is that your dreams are your subconscious ability to connect to other multiverses. So if you dream about yourself in some situation, a version of you in another universe is actually in that situation, and you're just observing, helpless observer of it. And that's a cool effect, and that's kind of what we have here in this bridge. This scene, our Stephen Strange witnesses it by way of a dream, and only is convinced that's only a dream. And then he has to go, and we get some character moments of him at the wedding of Christine Palmer, and he's not the groom, and he's trying to be a mature adult and happy for her on this wonderful day, and it's difficult for him.
It is, but I think at the same time he's kind of accepted it.
Yes.
We also the thing with the whole dream thing. I love that. I love that quite a bit, because that was very imaginative too. Because especially when we have Wong later on, like I said, this is heavy spoilers, guys. But Wong is literally like, "You mean there's somewhere out there where I'm buck naked being chased by a clown?" And she's just like, "Somewhere
out there." Yeah.
So I'm like, shit. And there's Jace. Hi, Jace, with the movie. Thank you. And,
yeah.
So they get chased, and then they end up, and it's pretty much he's getting ready for the wedding. He still puts on the watch she gave him.
Yeah.
And he not only does he have to deal with the fact that she's getting married to someone else, the fact that she's marrying a dude that is a fanboy of him.
Yeah.
And he wants a picture and an autograph, and you're sitting there going, dude, you're marrying someone else, and you're telling your future husband it's not you. To your ex is that he wants an autograph or something. You're like, oh, okay, this is going good. Wow.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Have you ever seen the movie with Will Ferrell where he does the basketball team?
Oh, which one is that one? Is that that's not basketball. Which one is that one?
No, it's semi-pro, I think it is.
I think
And
it's semi-pro.
and you have the relationship between Woody Harrelson's character, the doctor that is his ex-girlfriend, and then she's got a boyfriend, and the boyfriend is so obsessed with Woody Harrelson that he's pretty much a cuck to to as a result of it. Because there's even a point where the two are having sex on the couch, and the boyfriend walks in and thinks this is awesome because it's his hero's doing his girlfriend, and it's
Oh
like
god.
that's the type of that's the subtext of that situation when your love interest of a main character ends up marrying a guy that is a fan of that very main character. It's that's an inevitability where the woman is going to be unfaithful and the husband will be completely fine with it because it's his hero doing it. It's like that's a bad mindset and attitude to have and introduce in a movie that's not a deliberate comedy.
No. And I gotta give him a lot of respect for this because a lot of the Marvel stuff we're watching, they did tone down on the comedy, or they actually I think talked to a comedian who knew when to drop a punchline, because that throughout this movie it definitely wasn't like we're looking at Moon Knight. Oh, I got stabbed with 5 spears. Let's crack a joke. Oh my God, Psycho Colonel Sanders. Oh no, don't worry about the demon. He'll wait for me to finish my monologue. They really cut down on that in this one.
Yeah, they made sure it was a bit more an organic placement of jokes as opposed to something that stops the story full. Like the lunch scene when they meet America Chavez and it's Wong and Doctor Strange, and they're talking about, like, they mentioned Spider-Man, and it's a quippy back and forth really quick. It doesn't slow down the movie. It just shows that things are different, and she's trying to convince them that she's from another universe, and they're very doubtful. So that was that was okay. The story does move pretty quickly, but it's paced awkwardly. And it's really hard to kind of convey that if you haven't seen the film already.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty much. Then we get to the whole thing with Shimogorath and the whole battle, and that's where they're introduced.
And I like the homage to the Godzilla theme music in that scene. That there's a lot of that type of stuff going on there.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, you did? Oh no, they had the big heavy drums, like the dun 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 was going on in that. I'm like, that's reminding me of Godzilla because you have this giant kaiju monster.
Oh, I missed that. That's a good catch. I actually have to go to check that again. And as we're going on, so yeah, okay, so now pretty much he got dressed. He is now at the wedding and pretty much and all that stuff. And then we're getting this is where it's coming in. We're hearing noises. We're hearing screams on the street, and Strange literally jumps off the balcony as he's changing into
transformation.
Yeah. I was like, that's almost Power Rangers. I like that.
And like traditional Superman the movie thing as well. And
yeah. No, I agree. And like like Chris, you said the Godzilla music, which I totally missed. I have to go back through that. He then saves Chavez. They start fighting the creature. I do enjoy how he's using his magic. It's not just one type of the orange. You see the green. You see Wong show up. It's proper, to bow before the Sorcerer Supreme. So here's where we find out he's not the Sorcerer Supreme. Wong is. And then it becomes a battle between this Shimogorath thing, one giant eyeball, bunch of tentacles, and they're kind of getting their asses handed to them in a way.
Yeah. They are getting them really beaten up, and they're like on top of that, even the character of America Chavez, she makes weird choices. Like she's running away, and the first thing she's doing to do is hide inside an abandoned bus. Mm-hmm. One of the things I did kind of like is how Stephen Strange is saving people. Like he saved the woman who's running away with her baby, and people are getting out of the way, and there's some police like clearing the scene and all that stuff, and you can tell like the street's abandoned. But what's also kind of comedic is that only 2 blocks west of there, it's New York, as if nothing else is happening.
like they're not hearing the shakes of the ground or anything. It's like, hey, it's like they,
or maybe they are and they just don't care because it's like they're 2 blocks away.
Or they're considering it a subway underground or something else. Yeah, it's very like complacent.
It's very comedic because as soon as that fight is done and Wong and Strange are walking Chavez away, it's only maybe a few moments, but they're on another corner and traffic is moving properly. There's a guy on the bike just making a right-hand turn. Like it's just like no evidence that there's been this calamity in a section of downtown New York or Manhattan. So, yeah, that made me giggle and stop for a moment. And then they go directly into her getting food, and the plot is basically, oh, we gotta take her to our training grounds to protect her, to keep her safe from whatever this thing is. And Wong suggests that this isn't dark, like this isn't magic as they know it. It's more like witchcraft, and so that gets Doctor Strange to seek out Wanda, and get her help. And they do the very obvious tell that Wanda knows more than what she does, because Doctor Strange says, yes, there's this girl who can travel through dimensions to different universes, and we want to know if you can help us find the demon that's going after her to stop her. And Wanda's like, well, why don't you bring America to me? And then he's like, oh, and then she realizes what she said and then reveals, you didn't tell me her name. He's like, no, I didn't. And then that's when he kind of get the reveal that she's the villain of this story.
The other thing that bothers me is when he actually goes to arrive at Wanda's thing, and we're seeing this lovely, I guess it's an apple orchard or something, or apple tree plantation. But this is all Scarlet Witch magic and illusion. This is pretty much all illusion. And this is where the whole dialogue we've heard before that's pissing people off from WandaVision about the whole mind controls, like, and she's literally going to Steve and being like, I've given up magic. I've parted ways with it. I know what happened in Westview I did wrong. I've been trying to atone. And it's like, and then Steven's is like, yeah, I'm not here about Westview, and gets into all this shit. And then, like you said, that dialogue comes on, and the next thing you know is that she waves her hand, and you see the devastation of what the Darkhold not only does to the realm and the holder, but it's all just degrading, death everywhere, like pretty much your entryway to hell.
Yeah.
And you're getting Scarlet pretty much going, look, you can either bring her to me, or Scarlet Witch, not Wanda, will be coming after you. And you're sitting there just like, okay, I gotta give credit for this though. They really gave Wanda, I think in a way they turned her, from that dialogue, it turned her into, it's been a while since I've seen a film where the massive bitch is literally the massive bitch bad guy.
Yeah, the turn is great, and on top of that too, I like the fact that she is establishing that everything that she has done up until this point has been her restrained and reasonable, and she doesn't want to sort of cross that line into doing any like real dedicated evil, because there's a little bit of hope in humanity still remaining in her. Everything she's doing is to try and restore her fantasy children back, which they exist in other universes, but not the one that she is in. Mm-hmm. And Stephen Strange is trying to reason with her on that. And she's just not having it. And that's the one thing, is she wants to take America Chavez's power, not just to be at a universe where her children are there, but in the eventuality they get sick or injured, she can transport them to a universe where they can be cured and be able to live a full life.
Yeah. So go ahead.
There's layers to why she wants to. There's layers to why she wants to.
She's obsessed. She's become an obsessive compulsive. It's like, you know how the mother is very protective of her kid. Yeah, mother very protective, but this is more borderline stalker parent at this point. And like what I was saying with this scene, all of this scene here, this is all magic. It's literally all dying. It's all rotting wood around everywhere. And from what we saw from the cut scene, let's say from WandaVision, that was not really damaged. It is now a whole lot bigger. It has affected a lot of places.
Oh, it's like several acres, yeah.
Yeah, it's dark. It's like looking at Picard's wine fields, but it's all rotting away in red and black tones. That's pretty much what it is. And from this point on, like you said, we're introduced to the villain of the story. And it's crazy that he pretty much told her where she was. And from there, it's
she gives until sundown, to hand her over.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's sundown, and it's like, and Wanda's also being tormented too while she sleeps. She doesn't want to wake up, because when she dreams, she's actually dreaming the different multiverses of the other versions of. See, wait, isn't Wanda a Nexus being? In the comics, and she's like this. No matter what, she's still Scarlet Witch in every universe, but she's also the same person in every universe, right?
Maybe I don't recall. Like, I haven't read enough of the Wanda side of Wanda focused issues to know that as much. But it's pretty much conveyed a little bit like that in this story. Is that every Wanda is still Wanda? The only difference is that the one that we're seeing here has lost her kids and has turned what she was prior to that into the Scarlet Witch. And I guess her goal is that she doesn't want to be in that position anymore. She wants that family. She wants everything. And she also feels burdened by the fact that the sacrifice that she had to make with destroying Vision lives with her differently than the sacrifice that Doctor Strange made by giving up the Time Stone, right? So, like, she even asks him, could there be, or not she, someone else, another character asks Strange, could there have been another way to have stopped Thanos? And he's said no. And the way that they try to frame that, they try to suggest that there might have been one other option that maybe Strange didn't want to do for personal reasons, maybe. But we don't get any follow through on that, which is probably somewhere on the cutting room floor, or if it was even actually thought through of in the script. Who knows?
But even then, though, if we look at it from WandaVision and even the snap and the blip coming back, still there was still no other option because these events were all set up afterwards. What is it? Because Strange never said, "Hey, I should just get the Darkhold and defeat Thanos" or something like that. And I'm like, that's the whole thing, though. The movie never gave any other reasons to Strange having any other options because he went through every time with the Time Stone.
Yeah, based on the position that he was at that moment, that was the only decision he could make. Whereas in other versions, they have a different introduction to Thanos, and therefore they have a different means of attack and strategy. Endgame is very much, or not so much Endgame, but the Infinity War itself is very much a fairly well-crafted story that follows the principal rule of plot by having a series of inevitable events. So events that are driven by cause and effect. So had certain aspects happened in Infinity War that allowed Doctor Strange to remain on Earth and not be, moving on a spaceship towards Titan, he possibly would have had the means and time to enact a different plan before Thanos got any more of those Infinity Stones. But that's not how it worked out. So Strange was kidnapped and taken, and Iron Man and Spider-Man had to save him. So those are the thing. Those are the plot elements there for that story. But yeah.
All right. So then they pretty much go back to Carmitage. They get all the trainees and all the other magicians or sorcerers, whatever you want to call them. And they're preparing them for defense mode. And then we get introduced to that green bull, which they don't give anything at all about, just a talking green bull running around. Great for people who have no idea who it is. And it's just like, why is there a green talking bull here? What's going on?
Yeah, it's like, I want more of that. Is that from like the Shang-Chi part of the universe? Like, where is the bull from?
I would like, they didn't explain half of some of the stuff like that. And you're
is
sitting
his
there
wife
going,
a cow? Like,
and that's what bothered me throughout this trailer too. Like when we're actually looking at the trailer, and I'm trying to get back to that, and it's one's where is it? Oh my god, is it here? Where'd it go? Sorry, I'm talking over this, but then they highlight in the trailer like this character actually has some type of thing, and that's the problem with this trailer, with the film. It does say too much, but it also says one thing that actually coincides with the whole movie. It is just as jumbled as the trailer.
Yeah, it is, and the jumbling kind of helps it because its pace does move quickly, but you're also feeling the time that's being spent to get from point A to point B. I will say this: no actor, aside from one, phones in their performance. They are trying to, do stuff. Like Olsen here is really doing everything she can to convey her pain and torment and and kind of like a postpartum depression aspect of things.
But it doesn't come across that at all. She's a raging maniac.
Yeah. Benedict Cumberbatch is trying to be the guy that's holding himself together through all of this problems and trying to deal with the fact that he doesn't always have to be, the center of attention, so to speak. Like, yeah, he wants to be in charge. He's kind of got this fatherly role to him, but he's also struggling by allowing other people to contribute as well, because one of the things that drives him is the fact that he wants to be the only one burdened with the responsibility, and it goes into unfortunately a dialogue only backstory that happens much later in the film with regards to his sister, which I wish that was
talked about.
I would say it was talked about a bit more, or at least explored a bit more, and especially in the first film, because that's kind of what drove Stephen Strange to be the best surgeon he could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go. I'll read this paragraph out. Strange goes to Kamartaj and warns about Wanda. We are introduced to Rintra, I guess is the bull. The Minotaur, my bad. But before they can prepare, they feel a strong wind blowing towards their direction. With candles being blown out. Ooh. They then see a huge cloud of smoke arriving. The sorcerers cast a spell. They actually, that's one thing that's great about this. They have all the sorcerers in sync, creating a defensive shield towards Wanda's dark magic. And they do a really good job protecting the castle up to a certain point. And from there, it's pretty much just makes Wanda even more pissed, and she
uses a power that we first see when she's introduced in Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yeah, and she tries to insert herself into the mind of her enemies, and she keeps trying, and pretty much Wong's like, fortify your minds, fortify your defenses, and it's like, all right, cool. Wong is really trying here. He's really trying to get an inspirational point. And it's a supporting character that's also the Sorcerer Supreme. It's kind of deficient that there's not more of a prominent role with him, because we've seen him be like the sidekick, not even just the sidekick, like the ally, the friend to Doctor Strange, whether it's in the comics or cartoons, and they failed to deliver that.
Yeah, I think because they're trying to have this play on resentment between the two of them. Where, I mean, in the first film, Wong is there. He's supportive of Strange, but he's also not like subservient to him, which I kind of liked, because it was them kind of building a friendship, and then we get little tidbits of that friendship throughout other films until after Endgame, where Wong is now the Sorcerer Supreme, and he is now behaving as though he has to be far more responsible to the jovial Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is upset that he lost the title due to a technicality of not being around for 5 years. And he's also having to come to terms with that as well. So he's having to come to terms with the fact that he's not the Sorcerer Supreme anymore, that he's not with the woman that he loves, and that he's not really happy as a result of, like, look at that. He looks like he's wearing a Lego hairpiece.
Oh my God, please. It's the Mr. Potato Head with a little peg in the middle. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's such a.
Look at it. Just look at it.
And the guy to his left there, the one that's
who is that?
Is another doctor, I think, probably from the first film. He is really short. He's like 5'2", I guess. But he's the one that asks. He was dusted for 5 years as well. And he asks, could there have been another way? And Strange is like, no, unfortunately.
Because it was like, go ahead. Sorry, I kept cutting you off. My bad.
No, go for it. I had nothing really to contribute.
It wasn't like there was like, it was some of the characters that were put in there. They didn't really give enough of explanation, and most of these were forgettable characters to the point if they're from the other movies. So you would actually have to go back and rewatch Doctor Strange or any of the other films that has them in it just to get a linking of what is actually going on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like the dialogue just felt like it was this, hey, Marisphere, hello, Apollomes. So we're pretty much at the point now, like, where is it? Okay, they're defending it. There's explosions. Wanda's taking no prisoners.
She is like obliterating some of them and just charring them to like dust and corpse. It's really gruesome. I mean, it's gruesome aftermath, as opposed, we don't actually see it in great detail as I think Sam Raimi would normally do. But that would be for an R rating thing. This is a general audience PG type of film. But yeah, there's some charred skeletons that are dusted and brought back to life and then dusted
She would,
again.
yeah, she was wiping some of them from existence. Like you just see, it was like she was blipping them right in front of everyone.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific in that type of sense.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it's also pretty cool. It leads into a really great scene with the
The
mirror
mirror trap.
dimension, the mirror trap that he
Yes.
uses. Go ahead and talk about that for a
Are you,
moment.
oh, okay. Well, so
Yeah, you
pretty much.
introduced it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm going to try to take it forward here. Okay. So pretty much the defense is a fall because Wanda got into one of the sorcerer's minds. Pretty much says, run. And he runs away fleeing. And in that, he's knocking the other sorcerers out of the way. So they're losing their concentration because if one person decides to run, it can cause doubt, especially if they're trying to focus their magic on defending a huge thing like Kamar-Taj. Next thing we know, Strange and Wong pull back. Wanda's still kicking, like going pretty much full ape shit on everything. And she starts pursuing Strange, Wong, and Chavez. She then steps on a mirror trap, and next thing you know, she's being trapped within this mirror dimension. And what's cool is that it's like this room with all these spikes, as well as she tries using her powers, and it's just reflecting all over the place. And then it does this weird kind of close up on her, and the next thing she's bending the mirror dimension, and since it's a mirror dimension, the mirror goes two ways. The reflection, she's using reflections to find not only where they are, but to attack them. And you're seeing eyeballs and things jumping out of puddles. It's a really well done scene.
It really is. It's like
right.
this is like Sam Raimi really having fun with the dynamics of this scene and what's going on in it. And you're like, it's the first time you kind of see this, and you're wondering, where's this level of effort and tone and execution in the rest of the movie that we've seen so far? Like it's completely, it feels like it belongs in a completely different film.
Yeah, it feels. Yeah, I agree. It feels like the parts if they let Sam Raimi have full control, like it would have been something great. You picture a PG-13 like Evil Dead, but with Marvel, and yeah. I feel like they foxed him again, like with Spider-Man 3.
Oh God, Spider-Man 3 was a nightmare. But yeah. It feels like there's some reconciliations having to be made, and I guess Sam Raimi wanted to do it because it opens up opportunities for him to do some other things that he probably otherwise wouldn't have gotten, because sadly in Hollywood industry, if you're not making something every couple of years, you're kind of almost memory hold to a point. Like you're still acknowledged, but it's like, oh, what have you done for me lately type of attitude, right? So that's why you got to keep working or be on a project that's big enough so that it justifies an absence from the social conversation for a few years, because you're so dedicated to the other work. And Raimi kind of has been in there playing backseat mostly as a producer and not so much directing any big culty films that are making waves anymore. So yeah, I think this was probably a little bit of a reconciliation for him, where he's like, yeah, I'll do Doctor Strange, and then maybe I'll go back to Spider-Man and figure something out there, and maybe I'll go do another proper MCU film that's not with Sony or something of that nature, not have to pick up someone else's scraps and hobble them together into a film.
And yeah. And the scene that happens in general, it's pretty great, because we then see one of the drums that they were banging to prepare for defenses. She comes crawling out of it like it was watching the.
Oh, she comes out of the gong. Yeah.
She came. Yeah, go ahead.
It's like something out of the Exorcist cutscenes that they have. Mm-hmm. Like it's just this mangled. Like she's
Sakura coming out of the TV as well from the ring. Like, you know
yes,
what I mean?
It's like every single joint is double jointed. It has to reform itself after she crawls through. And
did the cracking and everything, and I was like, oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah,
but it's those little points that are good, but it's not enough to make up for it. But when she comes crawling out of there, Chavez is already terrified, and she then opens a portal, and just as Wanda is about to like smoke Doctor Strange, Kate comes and protects and burns a hole through it, and they get shot into what is believed to be Earth 818.
Yes. It's a nice looking Earth too.
It is, except for the clothing. I did not like the clothing. It was really
clothing was weird.
it was very weird. Their whole streetlight system is red is go, green is stop, so it's kind of reverse. And
we get the Bruce Campbell scene, a really good one. But here's the other part too. So there is this line where she claims like, oh, food is usually free in most other universes, and then she gets yanked back for not paying for her food, which tells me that she actually doesn't really know 100% what's going on in other universes. She's just making
No.
assumptions. And so
Yeah.
she's been stealing food from across many universes this entire time.
Pizza balls for everyone.
Yeah. And then, of course, Bruce Campbell does his Three Stooges stuff because he loves the Three Stooges.
And the one thing that I loved about it too was what was it? Strange gets him off because like Campbell's character pretty much starts accusing him of stealing something from the Strange Museum. And we're like, there's a Strange
because of his fashion, yeah.
Yeah. You take this cape, it looks authentic. And next thing I know, they're like, he does this little thing because you're starting to see like this father, like this Last of Us 2 kind of thing, like Last of Us 1, sorry, not 2, where the Joel and Ellie kind of the relationship starting to build. And pretty much he casts a spell, and Bruce is pretty much slapping the crap out of himself. And, and as they're walking away, she's like, well, how long is that supposed to last for? Oh, it's not too long. How long? About 3 weeks. So literally, they made Campbell's character slap himself and hurt himself for the next 3 weeks.
I think he said 3 minutes or 3 weeks.
3 minutes or 3 weeks. And I'm sitting there going, that's kind of crazy. And you just see him in the background banging his head off, his pizza ball stand and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just walking away. And I'm like, oh, Bruce.
Yeah, but that's the type of stuff he loves to do. So.
From there, you want to take the next one? I think we're at the memory scene.
Yeah, from there the movie stops completely, so that they can walk into these little discs where, for a low cost fee, you can watch Cherished Memory, and so Doctor Strange lands on one of these things and sees the memory of a date with him and Christine, where she gives him the gift of the watch that we see at the beginning of the film that's got the broken cover on it, and how it hurts him. And then America Chavez steps on it and sees her parents, and that she gets frightened by a bee and then zaps them into another dimension, and then she gets frightened and then zaps into another dimension. And then we have a follow-up scene where they talk about that. Because that's entertaining. Yeah.
What did you think? What did you think of her powers always making the shape of a star?
I thought it was all right because I mean, she's making them from her hands, and you have 5 points on your hands, so 5 points of a portal. I thought that's all right. I mean, I wasn't bothered by it. I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's just I was more bothered by the fact that a group of parents named their kid America. That's a weird first name.
It is the multiverse, yeah. And she has to live with the fact. That's the other thing that we forgot to bring up. She doesn't dream, so she knows she's her own unique being throughout the multiverse. Yeah.
She's the goal of Jet Li's the only one in all the universes.
Except she's not killing herself, and I think that's where it kind of separates herself. Like that's what I'm wondering. If there's only one of her, then multiverse doesn't affect every being equally. Then.
That's actually a good observation. Yeah, if there's only one of her, then it's not equal all around.
And so, okay, where are we now? Okay, so that's what happened. We get the thoughts, we get the memories, and the next thing I know, they are walking past a giant statue of their Doctor Strange, the 818 Doctor Strange, and
they're looking for him because hopefully the Doctor Strange of that universe will be able to help them fight WandaVision that's going after them. Yeah.
Yeah, and from there, there's a statue in front of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Oh
Santorum, yeah, or Sanctorum. Sanctorum, not Santorum. Don't Google that word.
Sanctorum at this point. Yeah. And don't Google it. I don't want to be in trouble. And pretty much someone's sitting at the door, and of course, we get introduced to an 818 Dreadlock Mordo,
who's not evil. Oh. Yeah, he's not evil. He's happy to see Strange. He's like, yep, I figured another one of you would come one day because you of our universe said it would happen. And
you're my brother.
He's like, you're my brother.
And he's like the awkward hug going, why are you touching me? It's like one of those actor folks going, you're a little too close. Like, let's get the fuck away just a little bit.
Yeah.
And from there, they go in, they start having a talk. And we learn that we're in a universe, Mordo was pretty much chloroformed them.
Yeah, he gave them something of Sans poison.
Sands of Shanti or something?
Yeah, Sands of Shanti, which just drugged them. and they wake in basically glass prisons where they're being studied for whatever by this version's universe of Christine Palmer.
Yep, in polycarbonate cubes that are indestructible. At the same time, Strange has handcuffs on made from the sands of Shanti, so he cannot cast any magical spells. Because his Christine, please someone say the name, Christine, right?
Yeah.
Christine is pretty much the head researcher of multiverse knowledge across everything. And she makes a great point. She goes into comic book lore. You have a different magnetic resonance,
Magnetic field and different resonance and molecules.
You don't know what radiation, you don't know what diseases you have that we might have cures for. And right then and there, I actually had an appreciation for, hey, comic book stuff. Finally.
Well, it's not only that, it's basic NASA quarantine decontamination protocol. It's like, oh, they're from a completely different reality. We better isolate them because we don't know what they've got on them, and we don't know what our universe could kill them. Like it's a quid pro quo type of thing. So
yeah.
Good exposition explanation, and
Mordo's still a dick. Mordo's still a dick.
Mordo's still a dick, and Wanda is got the Darkhold, and Wong's disciple manages to destroy it. So now she can't find which multiverse they're in, and so she threatens to kill more people if Wong doesn't show her how to do it. And we learned that the Darkhold itself is really just a transcript of a castle somewhere in another part of the planet that all the original incantations reside. And
it's Castle Wundagore, I believe.
Wundagore, yes, and Wong is compelled to lead Wanda there so that she can dream walk into another version of herself in the universe where Strange and Chavez are, so that she can take the power and do what she needs to do. It's yeah.
Throughout this dialogue, though, before we switches back to Wanda, it's pretty much Christine is the one that verifies that they're in the 818 Earth, while they have already identified and assigned the MCU that we know right now as Earth 616. So now it's actually canon that all the characters we've been watching over the years within the Marvel phases is Earth 616.
Which doesn't reconcile with the comics of 616 either. So.
No, so it's 616 B or something, but they don't actually say that. So I feel like that they might use that reasoning for X-Men crap later on. Oh my god, I'm so yeah, I'm terrified to talk about it when it gets up to that. And then and you're right, and it turns out that it was a book, it was a copy, and it was pretty much it's an abandoned place. Scarlet takes them there, and it turns out that Wundagore is actually a temple to this Nexus being, a Texas to the Scarlet Witch, like a temple to a shrine to this Nexus Witch at this point. And now Doctor Strange is being escorted away by these Ultron robots, Illuminabots, or
to meet the Illuminati, which is like the what?
Yeah. And from
now
here,
one of the worst ideas that was ever introduced in the Marvel Comics, which is the Illuminati.
Oh, let's not even go there. The Illuminati is code for future MCU, and that's why I'm using this point right now. And quick nod to Nergrotic for that thing right there. We get introduced to the first Avenger, Captain Carter,
which she looks more female in this version than she did in the cartoon.
She's also half Rocketeer.
Yes, she is. She's got a frechette back on her.
Black Bolt from
Anson Mount comes back as Black Bolt. Yep.
But that doesn't. So that okay? Anyway, they're all the same character. I got to remember that. We have the worst insult ever to was it John Krasinski?
Yeah, John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. We'll get to him in a moment because we also have Lashana Lynch, who is Monica Rambeau's mother. So she manages to become Captain Marvel in this version, and not
Black Marvel. Yep, Black Marvel.
And
the Mordo takes a seat, and we have Patrick Stewart. But when they introduce Patrick Stewart, because we all know about the yellow chair, they literally use the cartoon from the 90s theme orchestrally.
Yeah. They do a couple of bars of it actually, because it's a long time for him to get for him to hover in to the middle of the very pretentiously placed chairs that are like
Hold on.
10 feet above.
Go on. I'm just going to.
Grab an image.
I'm going to grab an image because, all right, one in the chat for those watching. Do you want to see the image or not? Because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. So yes for one, 2 for no, and I'll give you about 5 seconds because I'm going to show you. Because it's not even just the theme. Like when he does his power, they literally do the same thing from the comic, from the cartoon. You know, because you can actually see the CGI around him with the circles, like the way we looked at Magneto with the hand.
Yeah.
So they do the same thing with his power. So they're definitely saying it's 616, but for some reason 616 doesn't have mutants yet. So it's kind of bothering me that the 616 Professor X is in the 818. Do you know what I mean?
Well, is there a 616 Professor?
That's the thing, though. Their universe is 616, which pretty much falls in line with the comic 616 we have, right? Almost to a degree. So why is the 616 Professor not in 616, but he's in 818?
Yeah, well, we'll find out, I guess, in the next few movies. But yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
But then, so yeah, we have those introductions, and then we get, oh god, yeah, like look at, he's swimming in that chair.
It's literally Pike. This is the Secret Labs Professor X chair.
It's too wide.
It's
bad.
Have
to lower him into it.
Hold on, let me do something. Hold on, I gotta do this. You will enjoy my power. Hold on. You will enjoy my power. Oh, come on, stop it. You will enjoy my power, Wanda. This is the most hopping around I've had all day. Yeah. What do you think of the scenery first, though, before we go into Professor Migraine?
It was kind of plain. It didn't look fantastical or anything of that nature. Speaking that wasn't fantastical, John Krasinski proves me right again that he's not suited to play Reed Richards. He plays him like Jim Halpert. He plays him doubtful. And Reed Richards is anything but. He's actually very confident and kind of fatherly and teacherly-like. And John Krasinski's like, no, I'm Jim Halpert in a Fantastic Four costume. I'm going to lean in. I'm going to talk kind of with doubt in my voice and sincere regret, as opposed to, an academic, which is very much what Reed Richards is.
And it's like very bad X-Men Fox
hybrid thing.
Yeah, it's like,
part of me is what I'm wondering is like, did they cast John Krasinski because he's so far away? They needed a guy with big ears to make it look like Mr. Fantastic and enlarge his ears. Hear Stephen Strange make an argument.
All right, I'm going to take this off the screen quickly because that's the other thing that bothers me. The way he looked, it reminded me of the first enemy from Men in Black. You remember the cockroach who was wearing the skin? Sugar. Yes. I need more sugar. And when they did a close-up of him, I was like, why is the Men in Black alien skin here in a Fantastic Four outfit? Like, they did not do well for
the
him.
Edgar suit?
Edgar. Yeah, he literally... I got to get that. Hold on. Yeah, you talk about
Yeah, because, he gets lines. Like, he gets lines that are very much Reed Richards, but doesn't... He's like, Steven, if you don't do this, there could be an incursion. It's like, that's not Reed Richards. Reed Richards is more like, Steven, if you do this, there will be an incursion. Like, there's no confidence in what he is saying or in his delivery. And Vincent D'Onofrio, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it. Hey, Daryl. Again, warning, this is spoilers for those that don't know. So 1-1. So the Straczynski literally looks like Edgar in a Fantastic Four suit. There's something wrong with his ears or his facial posture, how he's standing. It's like he's sucking it.
He has a gut. There's that one shot where he's facing off against Wanda, and you can see he's got like a 42-inch waist. I think it's the suit doing that to him because I think he's still kind of a slender guy, but it's not. It's a dad bod type thing going on there, which is funny because Mr. Fantastic doesn't need to do that. He can change his proportions to any image he wants, and he always stays as most muscular and slim toned so he can retain his hot invisible wife.
But I didn't like it. I don't. I think they only did it to punish fans. They were saying he make a great Fantastic Four, and they kind of just went, "Hey, you want this? Well, here you go." But that's all you're getting, and then they pooped on it.
I mean, listen, I love the fans, but I mean, they're as human as the rest of us. They don't always make the right decisions when it comes to like what they want as fan favorites for casting. Sometimes it can work out. Like Carl Urban was a great one that worked out. Sometimes it doesn't, and that's just the way it is.
And they're having this whole debate, and then they're like, "We should tell him the truth." And that's when Professor Xavier slowly hovers across the ground. They never show it hovering, I don't think.
They don't. It's a lot of close-up medium shots of him.
And you're hearing, nah, 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 nah. And I'm like, right at that point, my childhood died, because all I could see was, is he actually human, or is he an android?
Well, he uses his telepathy to share the memories of them on Titan, where Strange has defeated Thanos, and Black Bolt has to kill him, and he kills him by saying, "I'm sorry," and then you have the sonic wave, and he just vaporizes, and they take the magic cloak that's away from Strange, so that survives. I guess goes into the Strange Museum, but the rest of the team are there, and it's
brutal.
It is pretty brutal, and Professor Xavier, from that encounter, realizes that this Doctor Strange is not the same as the other one. This one, he's a bit more humble and less flawed in the ways that they were accustomed to with the previous Doctor Strange. So that's why he's willing to let him go and help him stop Wanda.
Yeah, because this Strange found an opposite way besides the Infinity Stones to defeat Thanos, but it cost him not only his soul, it also cost him his goodness, and he decided to use the Darkhold and dark magic. But with the Darkhold, as soon as you open it, the person who opens it, as well as the realm around you, becomes corrupted, and that was the price. And Strange used it to kill Thanos, and it has this great shot of Thanos just lying over a rock with, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get too much into it, but it was like, all right. And it shows that he chose a different type of sacrifice. So even then, that universe had a different outcome. But for ours in the MCU in the 616, I don't even think the Darkhold was even brought up within the MCU cinematic area yet. Maybe in the TV show.
Not in the cinematic. No, not in cinematic guy. Or,
And from there, they're talking, and then an alert goes off. And the Sentry Trons, whatever they're called, Wanda's at the front door. But it's not the real Wanda. It's the Wanda being dream-walked by the 616 Wanda in the 818 realm. And she's just kicked.
It's mom pants, no socks, sweatpants and a shirt Wanda coming in and just wrecking the place.
It should have had a mature, because there was some things in there. And then the whole Illuminati gets up and leaves, except for Mordo and Picard.
Professor X. Yeah.
Sorry, that's it, Professor X. Wanda is confronted by 4 of the Illuminati. This includes Reed Richards, Captain Marvel, Captain Carter, and Black Bolt.
Which I did appreciate the Doctor Strange joke. Is like, the guy doesn't speak and he has a tuning fork on his head. I'm supposed to take you guys seriously.
Yeah. The one thing though is, it was pretty obvious to see what they were going to do to Black Bolt, and it was pretty much easy call, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of did a matrix on him, and it was like, Black Bolt here can pretty much kill you with one whisper, one breath. And like, what with his mouth? And like, what mouth? And like, oh, you didn't do that.
And then his own sound wave reverberates in his head and blows him up.
Freaking out, and then you see the side of his head pop like Jello, and it doesn't make sense. Usually, his whole head, if it's that strong, his whole head should have. If this was rated like a higher rating,
if Sam Raimi got the chance to do what he wanted to do with a better rating, that whole head would explode like from scanners.
and splat all over people. But before, and then you see Reed Richards trying to talk to possessed Wanda, and she's like, Wanda, you can't keep doing this. You're just doing this. You're just doing that. And Wanda's just like, do you have kids, Reed? Do you have kids? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, "Do you have a wife?" And like, "Do the children have a mother?" He's like, "Yes." And like, "Good, then someone will be there to raise them." And then she just unspools him.
Oh my God, she cut him up like Julian fries from a Play-Doh factory, and he just ripped his whole elasticity to dust. And
Yeah,
like,
and
wow.
the thing that like shocked me is the fact that I read enough Fantastic Four comics to know that the first thing Reed Richards would say is, "You shouldn't be doing this. We can find another way to get you back with your kids." Like
Yeah.
he would always appeal to the wants of his adversary.
They
If
called
it
him the
meant being,
smartest man in the when they introduced him, the smartest man of the realm.
yeah, and he's an idiot.
He was a moron. Yeah, like
Again,
that's what. Go ahead.
another rule that I say: your screenplay, your story is only as smart as the person writing it. So you can't. If dumb people are writing stuff, it's going to be dumb, and that's how we get Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, that's the other thing that bothers me here is like the one thing you're probably familiar with this too with Reed Richards in general. Reed Richards before he goes for an ultimate end solution when it has to result in death, he tries to find scientific answer.
Yes.
And then from science, he tries to incorporate science and magic and et cetera, et cetera. He tries to go down all the fields. He will try anything to make a device to see if it will work. You see that throughout the whole trying to help Ben Grimm, throughout the whole, whether it's a cartoon, comic, or anything, trying to change it back into human. Because his main idea for his science is because he feels responsible and he's trying to find a cure for all of them. And
Yes.
that's how his mind in brilliance grows. And they did not do that justice.
He figures out Ben Grimm's problem during the Secret Wars, and then as soon as he figures it out, he does the very petty thing, which is he doesn't tell Ben Grimm why he's always the rock creature, and how reconciling a certain emotions and what he gets out of that will allow him to change back between those two forms. Like that, he figures it out. It takes like 20 years, but he figures it out, and he doesn't tell him. And you're like, that's terrible. And but that's Reed Richards and Johnny Storm and Sue Storm and Ben Grimm. They're very much of a family dynamic, but definitely in the 70s and as you get into the 80s and 90s, they have become very unlikable people. That you as a reader, at least for myself, I'm like, these people should not have the level of power that they have, because they are not.
They're grown children.
One step away from being supervillains.
Yeah. And they're pretty much almost at the point of the parody of, like, if you're looking at Venture Brothers.
Yes, actually, no, they're right on that line.
Yeah.
But yeah, Reed Richards, your first introduction to him. I mean, I'm sure there's some arguments to say, well, it's not the Reed Richards of this universe. I say that's a moot point, because if it's your first introduction of the character, you should do as much as you possibly can to make that character's introduction have a positive and significant impact on your audience, so that we want to see a different version of them in a 616 universe, if that's going to be the core that's being established here.
And yeah, you can't just put a number 4, a Fantastic Four symbol on a destroyed building and hint that they may come, and then you introduce a character from another universe and say, "Hey, look how fucked up he is." You want that?
Because now you're seeding doubt within the fans, who are like, "Oh, if that's the Reed Richards I'm gonna get, I'll pass on that movie."
You pretty much killed a chance at a franchise before anything happens. But I think we've also had a talk like this, is that there's no real directors right now or anything studio-wise that can make a good Fantastic Four. And we've seen the failures with Fox, and then I think it was Sony with the next one.
I think Joe Dante could.
Joe Dante?
Joe Dante, yeah, because he did, was it Joe Dante or Joe Johnston? Sometimes I get them confused. The one who did Captain America, the First Avenger. That guy could do a Fantastic Four. Because he understands heart and
Joe
dynamic.
Johnston.
Okay, good, it's Johnston. Okay, yeah, Dante I think is Gremlins. Johnston is Rocketeer and Captain America. I get them confused because Joe's I call people mostly by their first name. But yes, Johnston, I think he could do that because he gets that thing. Because one of the fascinating aspects of Captain America, the First Avenger, is that Steve Rogers as a character, his flaw is that he's willing to sacrifice himself for others because he feels that he needs to contribute. He needs to be part of the whole, so to speak. Like, and the flaw, and then the other, and he feels that way because it's if It's the only way he's fighting. He doesn't have anything to fight for other than the country. But by the time he starts, joining the army and then getting the super soldier serum and making more friends than Bucky and then falling in love, he realizes why it's not just the country that you fight for, it's for the people you love as well. And that's and it's a very tricky flaw to pick up on the movie because he's such a very good hearted character, and the flaw doesn't really ever set him back. It set him back in regards to like progressing the plot. It sets him back with regards to character relationships. But it's not a straightforward flaw like Tony Stark's narcissism or Thor's ego. It's a very subtle flaw, and when you're dealing with characters like the first family of comics, you have to be able to reconcile and balance those flaws so that they complement the other characters, but are also something for them to overcome by the end of their story. And I think Joe Dante would probably be the best director to execute that. Probably David Koepp would be a better writer for the screenplay of it because he knows that genre well, or even Brian Duffield maybe. Throwing out names that everybody knows, but that's okay.
No, that's fine. But the one thing I wanted to bring up with this whole scene, I find it kind of bad. This is where I was kind of like the MCU thing again. This is where I don't know if this is a hyper prominent moment. She takes out the two guys like they're nothing.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing Captain Marvel and Captain Carter, the first Avenger, and Wanda battling it out.
And so with a completely different set of tools. Like she's not using any of the elaborate closing off their orifices or unspooling their bodies on a molecular level. She's just throwing energy at them. So she's giving the women a better chance to defend themselves than she gave the guys.
And it shows that like it's like saying, oh, it's like you're showing like not only like there's in a way a tier system of power, like I can't go against a man. I can't have. It feels like they did this for agenda purposes in a way, not having a man beat down on a woman. And so not
having the man have an opportunity to beat down the woman because they probably don't want to have a misinterpretation of abuse or violence, like sexually driven abuse or violence.
But Professor X invades her brain. Isn't that technically not consent?
Yeah, but Professor X is also a horrible human being.
Touche.
But I did like that scene where he's in her mind and she's trying to rescue the other one, and then gets absorbed by it. But yeah, like Captain Marvel, she's firing energy blasts, so it's essentially like Infinity Stone hybrid human versus Infinity Stone hybrid human, and Wanda crushes her with under statue, and then she kills Captain Carter with the vibranium shield. And
that was brutal.
That was pretty brutal. Like she bisects her pretty much, but we don't see the bisection. We just see her.
You see the shield, but you see the shield imprinted in the wall and the blood coat drip, and it was like, that's Raimi right there. And that was dark, but it was like the fight scene in that scene is really well, especially when you're seeing Wanda jumping back and lifting up the ground like walls, and you're like, oh my god, this looks like Jean Grey shit. Fuck yeah.
No, yeah, like there's definitely some. Like the cinematography is pretty fantastic for this film. I mean, I don't want to keep on trashing it, but I mean it's not great, but it does have some decent points. It's well lit. It's like you see everything. You understand the dynamics of shadows and contrast. So it's not bleak. And even when they go into the more darker areas, you feel it actually holds resonance because it's such a different contrast compared to everything else, which is what you kind of want to do with your films.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. Some of the fight scenes and the choreography is great. It is very well done, and I'll give props to that. Like it will suck you in for that moment. But then there's other times where I'm like, well, I would love to see Wanda go against Mr. Fantastic, like you were saying before about introducing a character. You didn't even show any of his abilities. You didn't even give him a chance. You just made him turn into a pull and peel from a Twizzlers box.
No, the closest he got was his entrance to fight Wanda, where he just kind of stretches to normal size. Like we don't even see him fully extended. He just kind of like is receding to normal size in front of her. Like he swung down like a Gumby or Stretch Armstrong type of thing. There was barely any effects in that shot at all.
That's the thing that bothers me. The wasted characters. We got cameos, but you wasted them, and I think that's why a lot of people are bothered by the cameos. Like, and cameos is not just the people or the actors or the character, it's also the music. And there's a whole bunch of different types of cameos throughout this, and they waste it. It's like it's like the way I look at things now with Marvel and Disney Plus and series of movies. It's the Ralph Boner effect. How long till we get a Ralph Boner? And you can weigh it on where the Ralph Boners are coming in and how much they just said, okay, we're done with this. We did enough. Move on. It's like they're doing a half-assed storyline in a way.
Yeah, a very patronizing, just give the plebes what they want type of attitude approach to it. Sometimes it feels.
I heard it was a complete disservice to waste the potential of John Krasinski, Reed Richards. I think in a way it was telling fans, we're listening, but we're going to Ryan Johnson you at the same time.
I don't think they intentionally wanted to Ryan Johnson them. I think they listened to the fans and they decided to just let Krasinski do what he wants to do. And if you're a fan and you don't like it, all I can say is I warned you. Let's put it this way. The best performance John Krasinski gave in a movie was in a film where he said almost nothing throughout its entirety. Think about that.
Oh, wow. Bravo. That's just it, though. We don't get anything more than just Mr. Fantastic. There's no.
We don't get the other 4 or the other 3.
They don't even go into who Professor X actually is. They don't even say his. I don't even think they say his name. They don't even say his name.
I don't think they say his name.
And he's just a yellow chair. Like,
oh no, wait. I think Mordo does when he finally comes in, but it's lost. I barely picked it up.
The cameo isn't John Luke or Patrick Stewart. It's the chair. The chair is the cameo. The music is the cameo. The CGI circles around him when he's doing the Professor X
ripple
thing.
Effect. Yeah,
that's the cameo. Not Patrick Stewart. And I'm wondering, okay, so Logan is in the 616 universe, right?
Maybe.
That's why I'm so confused. Because does that Professor X dream and know what happened to that Professor X and the other? This is why can't think about it. It's divisive. It is. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, but you're forcing the pieces in together.
Yeah, I mean, it's got more positives than negatives compared to titles such as The Eternals, Shang-Chi, and Black Widow. But this movie feels like they shot a larger film. They wanted to make the runtime to 2 hours, and they just haphazardly chopped up various parts here and then stitched it all together the best that they could. And it's kind of a mess. And the acquiescence to a fan cast does not pay off at all. It really does a disservice too.
The only two things that seem to be progressively continuous throughout all of this is literally the relationship between Strange and Chavez.
Yeah, that's actually a great relationship. I liked it.
Yeah, it seemed very well done, because honestly, in a way, the way it could open up if they ever decide to do this is Doctor Strange 3. Him trying to whatever happens to him at the end of this movie. I'm not going to get into that just yet. It could be him and Chavez, which I'm guessing is going to happen, traveling through the multiverse to find a cure.
Yeah.
But the other thing that bothers me with that is that all those things were destroyed by Wanda, so wouldn't technically the effect be gone?
That's a good question. Well, maybe it survives within the user, so could Wanda have it as well, and then him, and who knows? It's very peculiar.
It's very We'll get into that later, because it's the more I'm trying to think about a congruent, not just a timeline, but a multiversal line. It's not making sense, and it feels like the multiverse within the MCU is literally describing how the rest of the phases are going right now.
I understand that.
Their trailer is a multiverse of story. So what's this? So eventually, we got Doctor Strange is sorry, not Doctor Strange. Sorry, Mr. Fantastic is now pull up on the ground. Black Bolt's head popped out from the side. Captain Marvel crushed under a statue, and Agent Carter has been cut in half.
Yes.
It then follows in to
and then American Chavez somehow uses her star punch to actually shatter part of the glass that's holding her. It doesn't fully break, so she's not free yet, but she manages to pull it off as Wanda enters that little compound area, and then Professor X shows up to mind probe her.
And And that's where we got that picture where he's holding the hand and the finger. But technically, he never really pointed at anyone in the comics that I can remember. He just held his hand there, and he would just go into their mindscape. So that I give props to. But again, it feels like you're pulling from the cartoon and you're applying it to a character that a lot of people might not know about the cartoon. So
he's doing the James McAvoy thing, because Stewart never did that before, but McAvoy did that in First Class and all of his other parts. He'd put his fingers to one part of his head and hold out his hand with the other. So that's the interpretation I got from that.
All right, that's a good one actually. I'll take that, because there's not much to take. And so eventually, then what happens? He's in her mind, and this is probably one of the best scenes ever. I honestly think this is one of the best scenes ever. We're seeing the Wanda that is being possessed, and this is also a throwback to the actual comic history of how their village was destroyed and they were buried under rubble, and all they had was that TV playing, and they showed that very well. They even used the WandaVision TV.
Yes, they did.
And from there, Professor X is walking, because within the mindscape, Professor X has the ability to walk. He is not paralyzed due to his powers. In the psychic realm, you are able to conjure based off your powers, as well as what the realm will allow based off the head you are in or the mind you are in. I'm paraphrasing because I'm a dork. And he's like, if I could pull you out of here, Wanda Maximoff. And he uses the full name, Wanda Maximoff.
Yes, he does.
Tries to pull her out. And then all of a sudden, this red smoke comes over this white area. It's beautifully done. Like, it is really beautifully done. It's like when you're watching, I hate to bring this up, but if you remember Last Jedi, when they're using those broken down ships across the sand, the red sands, and it's opening up those red clouds, crystals, it's the same type of thing. And this Scarlet just comes in, and it's beautiful.
Comes in and then breaks his neck.
It wasn't. I don't think it was. Oh, dude, but you saw what she looked like too. You saw Scarlet Witch's. I don't know if that was her psychic form or the Darkhold form of her true self.
Yeah, it was scary.
And it was like looking at a Deadite dressed up like Scarlet Witch, and she just went to the neck, and all you see is Professor X crapped on the
kills
chair.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like honk. I'm like, why can't they do that with Picard?
Well, he's a robot. He doesn't have a neck to break.
Oh, whatever. Just take his batteries out.
Yeah, and while this is happening, Christine manages to get Chavez out of this cell, and they're running away. They catch up with Doctor Strange.
Oh, here comes Steven Seagal run number 2.
Steven Seagal run number 2, and they're going through tunnels, and then they do another Kodak moment where they manage to close off the one tunnel, and then they just stand there, and I'm just thinking, don't bother standing there. She could catch up in another way. Just keep going, and then you get the jump scare where she comes out from another direction, and then they go back to running again. It was pointless. Very pointless.
When he's running down the hallway, you hear the most awkward squeaking sound ever. Like, it was like a mixture of a rain jacket in between 2 flip-flops, and then you're seeing him run, and all you're seeing is Steven Seagal running meme, and I'm like, oh my god, not again. And like you said, then it goes like, well, they have to bury something here, and they somehow they are able to find this door that leads back to the supposed, what they call a waypoint, to the book of Vishanti or Ashanti or
something of that nature, to the book that they need that will help them fight the Darkhold and its magic
that they could have grabbed in the beginning and they didn't. So
they could have tried to grab in the beginning that they didn't. That they could have had a funny, because there wasn't, like Chris Gore is right, there wasn't much madness and multiverse in this. They went to like 3 different universes, and I'm like, and aside from the montage of the quick jumping between all the others, which is meaningless because you don't get to really experience them.
Like the paint one. Oh, you don't want to be in the paint one. It's really hard to eat. The cartoon one they had too, and all that. I was like, all right, and then, I feel like they could have done something like, and they didn't. Yeah. Or they were branching out and trying to show us what could be in the future. I'm like, oh god, did you just Warner Brothers Jam 2 for the multiverse? Please stop me there.
Yeah, something like that.
So eventually they go through. They're still being chased through. What is this? The broken realm or the realm in between realms? I don't even know.
It's the realm in between realms at this point.
Isn't that protected by Man-Thing?
I thought so, but I don't think they got Man-Thing yet. Or maybe he's protecting another door. I don't know.
That's the thing. If he's protecting this place, you'd think you'd notice a demon covered in runes running through your whole damn universe, breaking shit up.
Yeah, you would expect that.
Oh,
Maybe he's just on the John reading a paper. And
oh, he's like, what's that? Yeah, he's doing the New York thing. I know Shimogorath is the block over, but he's on the can. He's like, oh, it's just a normal day in my realm. Fuck this shit. And okay. And from there, they get the book, and
they almost get the book, and then she destroys it.
actually no, he picks it up because he does the Kamehameha. If you remember, he does the Kamehameha like that, the circle, line on,
yeah.
and Wanda packs a punch back, and with the blowback sets the book on fire. Book of Ashanti, the whole Easter egg of what they're chasing down is now destroyed. Then Wanda goes like this. You hear her scream. She's pulling her by the hair with Scarlet Power back, and I love that scene. It was like, get over here, but there was no actual hook.
Yeah, and then they get separated. So Chavez winds up back in her universe, like the 616 universe, and Strange and Christine are in another universe completely.
I think they're in the universe that was the 818 destroyed, and I think that's the multiverse. I think. Oh no, it's not. It has to be a different multiverse.
It's a completely different one because they had to return later. They returned Christy to her own universe, but basically they're in a universe where there is an incursion occurring.
I wasn't sure if it were those red beams were, because I don't know if that was a spell to maintain what was left, but they approach I guess what's left of the Sanctorum.
Yes.
And I like that because they came inside and you're seeing the stairwell, but right outside the back within that in the place is the beach. You're like, that's the best lakefront I've ever seen. And I was like, I love this. And we get introduced to, I guess, Evil Strange or Dark Strange, Shadow Strange.
Corrupted Strange, yeah.
Yeah, Corrupted Strange. Darkhold Strange, pretty much. And from there, it turns into Fantasia.
Essentially, yeah.
The music battle?
The music battle.
All you need was brooms. You needed Mickey with his hands and brooms, just throwing water. And it felt like I was watching Fantasia. Sorry.
Yeah, it was.
You're bored talking about this.
Well, the idea on paper is actually really cool. It's just how do you execute that well where it can be energetic and fun? And I think because clearly the fight, it's using musical instruments and then
musical notes off the sheet music. Yeah.
Yeah, the notes off the sheet music into physical manifestations of harm. And the notes are hitting each other and they're making sounds, but it's not really making something that's catchy. It's just kind of random sort of sounds, and then he gets the harpsichord, and it was all weird.
And pretty much this battle goes back and forth. He gets the book because there's this whole dialogue between Strange and Evil Strange. Is like, oh, I'll let you have the book, but you got to give me that Christine. I'm like, oh my God, deliverance is about to happen. Let's do it. Like, come on, just give her it. I would like to see the trade off. Then they just do the switcheroo or something, and they didn't. It was just like Strange. It felt like it was like Doctor Strange 2, him talking to himself and himself and himself and himself. And
it reminds me of the Clumps Part 2 with Eddie Murphy. It's Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy.
Who here say my name? Yeah, it was like that. Yeah. But Will says that made me roll my eyes as well. The rest of it I can forgive or accept, but that fight was just dumb. Yes. Valiant Renegade, how you doing? So it was Harmony. It was harm me aplenty, Shinatsky, at this point.
Yeah. Hey, Valiant.
Hey, Valiant. So then he gets the book and he makes the ultimate choice. But this is where I find it interesting, and I feel like this was also an opening into Marvel Zombies in a way. Because we didn't explain this, but when Chavez comes through near the beginning, pretty much she comes with the corpse of Defender Strange. And this is, I guess, would you call this a MacGuffin, the dead body?
I wouldn't call it MacGuffin. It's actually a fairly well placed setup.
Okay.
Because that dead body comes with her to the universe, and then Strange just kind of buries him within the roof of a building. And it just kind of left there, and it's resolved in that moment of the act to the point where you're like, okay, that's done. But then once you get to the point where Doctor Strange himself has to now do a dream walking thing. And she's like, well, there's no you in that universe for you to dreamwalk to. And he's like, yeah, there is. Like, who says it has to be living? And like you're like, oh, that's clever. That was actually a really inventive way. It's like it doesn't matter if it's living or dead. If there's another version of you and it's in that universe, you can dreamwalk to it and possess it. And that's what he did. And I was like, you know what? That's a good story beat. That's probably the best setup and payoff thing in this entire movie, actually.
Shinovsky, that'll probably be in the Axel Braun version.
Oh, I don't even want to think about that. I just learned what Axel Braun was a few days ago.
Yeah. And from there, they get the book, and he decides to inhabit the dead body. But because of that, it has repercussions, and that's why I'm saying we're the man thing, because all of a sudden we have all these dead spirits that are protectors of the dead or whatever it is, like saying, Strange, you cannot be possessing the body of the dead or whatever. And
they're starting to come after him, and he has to manipulate them into his new dead cape cloak thing.
That was pretty badass. I did like that.
They actually
pulled that when they actually had him after he saved Wong, and he comes up and he has all those arms. I know that's from a comic. I know I've seen that somewhere before. And I loved that scene. I love that one set. Trying to find. Hold on. Talk for a second, because I'm trying to find it from.
Yeah, because what we end up having here, again, it's another type of Kodak moment, but it works a bit more effectively because Doctor Strange in the one universe has possessed his dead body, and he's fighting off these weird spirits that are like coming out of his eye.
This
he's
is
trying to, that's the image, and he's trying to like, with the encouragement of Christine, he manages to capture them and forge them into a cape that allows him to get from the point, this one peak, to the Darkhold Castle, where for this entire sequence, Wanda has been slowly pulling Chavez's powers out of her body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird because it's a significant story beat, but it takes up some time, and you're wondering, at least I was wondering in the back of my mind, like, is Chavez still alive? Are powers not taken out at this point by now? Like, this is taking a long time, but it's to build up some of the drama that Doctor Strange, in possessing his zombie body, is trying to, achieve, so he can save Wong, he can save Chavez, and dispatch Wanda effectively.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And this is one of the best scenes you'll see in the movie. One of the best scenes. I loved it to death, because he somehow manipulates the dead spirits, of the protectors of the dead, to literally fight Wanda. That way, it's one of the best scenes, and I wish they would delve darker into this stuff. And I think this is more Sam Raimi than it was whoever else was actually directing it, because it felt like I was watching Spiritual Deadites, Doctor Strange, and the Scarlet Witch all going at it at the same time.
Yeah. And what interesting about this scene is that it reflects the first scene which we had, where Defender Strange, he has to turn to Chavez and he has to say, I'm sorry, I need to take your powers because it's the only way to stop this. And he does, and Chavez is frightened by that. And then Wong tells Doctor Strange, you have to take her powers, it's the only way. And Doctor Strange says, I understand. And he frees Chavez, but he doesn't take her powers. He then tries to encourage her like a mentor and a father figure, saying that you know how to do this.
See, I can't remember that. Okay, let's go back to that first scene again. Was he actually taking the powers, or was he just trying to strike enough fear into her so she would open up an escape route by herself, because he knew it was an end game for him?
That's open up for debate. I don't know. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Because what's the best way with fight or flight is to strike the utmost fear. So what if he was actually not trying to attempt to take the powers, but just enough to strike her like he was serious?
Scare her enough so that she would open up,
break the trust,
get her to scare her.
Yeah, break the trust, and be the reflex action. So that's a debate, and I have to go back looking at that when more people have seen this. But like you said,
it's hard to get inside the character's head, because unfortunately he dies immediately afterwards. But But yeah, that's what we end up having here. Now, this is one of the stronger criticisms, is the fact that after that talk, she now has a means to sort of understand and control her powers a bit more. And I'm thinking that's too big of a leap from where we last saw her. Like, we haven't seen enough of her trying to do her powers where Strange can see them a bit more to help guide her more effectively, so that
at the end, when she does control her powers, it feels earned, and it feels like we as an audience have been on that journey with her to discovering the powers. It feels like there's a significant story beat missing where she kind of figures out that she's getting close, but still has that doubt and apprehension from there. And it just felt a little Deus Ex Machina at that point, for me at least.
And the other one of my favorite parts within this is when he sends the demons to attack Wanda and traps her within a circle spell. And I'm watching, and you hear the demons going, "She's breaking free," and you're like, "Oh shit!" Demons are totally like now switch sides, and they're like, "All right." And it's just this that the magic is great in this. Like I'm still a kid when it comes to comic book stuff, and it's coming pretty good, and it was delivered pretty well. And then it reaches this point where the trust that was lost becomes a different type of trust between Chavez and Strange. And it's literally her talking to a decaying corpse because of Wanda. And he's saying, look, you got to do this. You got to do this. He's kind of building her up. And the imagery between this is he's using the Defender Strange she felt betrayed as to kind of atone for that distrust that happened. And I think in a way, it created that closure for her.
I can definitely see her seeing that. Yeah, I mean, granted, his body is significantly decayed.
Like half the rib cage and the arm just dangling about. Yeah.
Well, even in the beginning part, like he's only been dead for maybe a day, and it takes 12 to 15 years for a non imbibed body to turn to actual dust. So, he's basically deteriorating there. Like Wanda's kind of deteriorating a little bit too, as well, which is also pretty cool. But yeah, he's through his voice and through his body, he's channeling his voice, saying, "You got to do this." Again, it's a huge leap for her to do because we don't get enough of her successfully, or at least not successfully, or at least accidentally using her powers. We only get the one time where she punches the glass and the star appears and it works. And it's like, okay, we just need one more step in between that and your final ability to understand your powers. Before that,
it's like Jedi. It's like the Jedi thing, pretty much, trying to find your focus in the Force, trusting in the Force as yourself at the same time.
Yeah,
like Yoda with the X-wing and Luke on Dagobah.
But here's the other part too: is we also have America Chavez does some. She doesn't just fight with brute strength; she actually uses a little bit of wit. So she opens up a portal to the 818 universe where her kids are there, and they see Scarlet Witch and freak out because it looks like their mom, but it's not their mom, and they start attacking her because she's attacking their mother in that universe. And she's seeing herself, she's seeing the fear that her children have towards her.
And what if she would carry through with it, what it would actually do to
like she's understanding the consequences of these actions. And I'm like, that's a very clever way to kind of defeat an all-powerful enemy by attacking them in the one place they can't defend, which is, the emotional and the connection between family and love, and preying on the dishonest perspective that she has to justify for what she's doing. Like she's saying, yeah, I can dispatch the original mother and take the place. And we get this one scene where the kids won't accept her, and you realize, and then she's learning, oh, it's not going to work like that at all. And that puts her back into another form of regret, just like within the end of WandaVision. And she frees everybody and tries to destroy the castle so that the Darkhold can never affect anyone ever again.
Well, it's not. Let's also look at that other scene though, where we have the 818 Wanda literally touching her chin and saying, "Remember this: no matter where they are, they will be loved." And it's like she's forgiving herself, and she's forgiving herself.
Yeah.
2 Wandas to forgive 1 Wanda.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was kind of weird, and from there, that's where it's like she's already caused all this damage. She's willing to destroy the castle with her inside it, but with that, she also destroys every Darkhold across, I guess, the multiverse.
At least that's what the assumption is. Yeah.
So if that was the case, any infection from the Darkhold should have been dissipated as well, because the hold is no longer on it. Because the way they're saying is like she just gave up the dark magic. Like, no, the dark magic doesn't just give up on. Once it's infected you, it's infected the realm. And that's why I was kind of deterred by it a little bit.
Well, I think it corrupts the soul and it stays with that soul indefinitely. That's my understanding of it. So it doesn't matter if the Darkhold's gone. Whatever's left of the Darkhold actually still resides within the person that read it. So even if the book's destroyed, no new people could probably be infected by it, unless someone who's been infected by the Darkhold decides to write out those incantations and runes and whatever again into another book, in which to allow it to foster on. But yeah, it's a complicated. There's not enough establishment of the rules of the Darkhold at this point, and I think that's kind of also a failing on the storytelling as well. It's just an introduction, a MacGuffin to solve problems, and then to have future problems later, I guess.
Yeah, and so as we're getting to the point, and then I guess it fades to black, and pretty much. Do you think this is also the turning point where Wong realizes he's not the Sorcerer Supreme, and this could be handed off to Strange because of how he was portrayed throughout this film?
I think Wong realizes that even though he holds the title of Sorcerer Supreme, it's not earned in the same way that Strange earned it prior.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of that fact, what we do have is this kind of this acceptance between the two characters, where Strange is, like, Chavez is at the temple. She's learning the ways of sorcery, and Strange, talks with Wong about the recent events. And then he finally does a bow of respect for the Sorcerer Supreme, showing a little bit of humility and a better reconciliation, where they both kind of realize that neither of them are perfect, but they're the best that they've got for this world, and so they might as well not have that banter, that bickering anymore, and rise above it as adults should.
Yeah, and from there it pretty much fades to black. It then shows a scene of him fixing the watch from the top down, and everything's back to normal in the MCU. And then he's walking down the street, and he collapses.
Screams in pain like every other New Yorker that collapses.
Yeah, he got punched in the face by the guy who punched Rick Moranis, and a third eye appears on his forehead that we saw with evil Doctor Strange and the other multiverse, and then it fades to black. Supposedly there was 2 secret post-credit scenes. I didn't see any of them, but this book leads, and the way it ended, it makes me feel like this Doctor Strange and American Chavez are going to team up once again to go across the multiverse, probably to find a cure for the third eye and the infection of the Darkhold.
Something of that nature, yeah. I would not be surprised. I hope it's in a movie and not in a Disney Plus series.
Oh God, no more Disney Plus series. Come on, Moon Knight's a prime example.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It was bad. Yeah, I would never again.
Yeah, it was. The other part that's also going to hurt is She-Hulk, because I enjoyed that character. I've read all of her appearances from the first appearance to the end of the John Byrne run, and I dig the character. I think it's fun, cheeky, interesting, and it's like, even though I know the showrunner is not one of those, or at least doesn't advertise on social media that she's any of the people that cause problems with regards to ideology, it still is concerning, because the pattern of Disney Plus Marvel shows is of very terrible quality.
Yeah, they need to stop. And I think they oversaturated superhero stuff with this. But if you were going to rate this film to other people to watch, especially since it's opening day tomorrow for all of us in, I guess, North America, what would you give it out of 10?
I'm not good with numerical ratings like that. I would say
okay, A to F.
Well, it's probably like a D minus, because it has some decent parts into it, but they're few and far between overall, and the pacing's messed up, which is why some people really feel that it's 2 hours, and other people feel like it's quicker than 2 hours, but doesn't come across as a fully competent story.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than the Batman, but that's just
it is.
So there's that. So take that for what it is. If you are a diehard Marvel fan, you may enjoy this quite a bit, get more out of it than the average audience member. If you've been losing faith in Marvel films as of late, I would recommend waiting for this for streaming. Then that's my part.
That's a good. No, I appreciate your time. If anyone in the chat has questions, now's your time to ask. For me, it's around there. It's around a C plus. There are a lot of things I do appreciate, but it still feels like it feels like what we saw in the trailer. It's jumbled just like the trailer, and I don't feel any madness in this at all. You're right. There's no madness. There's no inkling of fear. We're on this trip with these two main characters, Strange and Chavez. Yet there's no, you know what I mean? Like we were watching a horror film or psychological thriller. There is no angst in certain points where it makes you feel like you are terrified for the characters. There's nothing about it in there.
Yeah, the threat, the threat of failure. That's something you really need to have for your, because the threat of failure is really a great effective dramatic tool in screenplays. I think one of my favorite sequences to refer to that is the Death Star trench run,
Yeah.
where you have the Y-wings make their attempt and they get taken out by Vader and his ties. The first wave of X-wings make their attempt and the two wingmen are destroyed, but Red Leader gets off the two shots, but they impact off the surface, so they don't go in, and so they failed again. And now, after Red Leader's killed, it's like now it's up to Luke, and he's doing everything that the other two guys did, and it's not until Obi-Wan speaks out and says, you got to use that Force, and Luke hasn't really successfully done anything with the Force before, but Obi-Wan's saying just trust him and trust himself. And then you get that shot where he fires the torpedoes, and you get that one shot where it's down the trench, and you see the two torpedoes side by side, like they're parallel, perfectly in sync. And then you get the close-up shot of the exhaust port, and the torpedo on the left goes in first, and then the torpedo on the right goes in afterwards, which implies to the audience that Luke Skywalker used the Force to hold one torpedo back just a half second so that they wouldn't hit each other as they're both going into the exhaust port at the same time. So it was just a one and done type of thing. And you're like, wow. But it happens so quickly, you don't really fully grasp it.
Yeah.
But because he pulls it off, Luke Skywalker does that huge sigh of relief at the same time the audience is doing it, because everything that's
you're along with the ride.
You're along with the ride. And that's why it's really important that, as I said on the show with Pop Culture Minefield yesterday with you, you never want to make anything easy for your characters. No. And you want to stack the odds against them as high as you possibly can, so that when they overcome it, the catharsis translate not just on the screen with the character, but translates into the audience as well, because you're feeling it also. Yeah, that's the other part too. Like in this film, I didn't feel like I was worried about the character's well-being,
no,
at all. I didn't think there was just. It felt too safe. I think that would probably be its flaws, that it felt too safe of a film.
Yeah. Will Gentry quickly says, I can sum this up very simply. I'm glad I saw it, but I'll never watch it again. That and America Chavez didn't annoy me once. That is actually a great point. Chavez didn't annoy me at all.
No, she was not the key to everything in the negative connotation. She was a key to moving from one universe to the other, but it wasn't all completely dependent on her. She's the holy grail, so to speak, just because of her powers, but she's not all powerful. Like that's kind of like the thing that was very well executed with her. She was a character that needed other people's help in order to succeed.
Yeah.
And she wasn't trying to school anyone around her. She wasn't trying to reject anyone around her. She may have had her doubts, but she was willing to go along with it because there was arguments made that these people were out for her best interest. And even though she didn't know exactly what she wanted, she did know that she'd be safer with them as opposed to being on her own.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed a lot of maturity in her character. Yeah.
Yeah. Cuber says the torpedoes went down on the exhaust shaft because the Death Star sucks. Okay. Will Gentry says she made me groan once when a joke didn't land. Other than that, she was fine. Honestly, I want pizza balls now. I want to try those. Because the way they looked with the pepperoni and the cheese on the outside, I'm like, what's on the inside? I need to know.
More cheese or bread.
Yeah. Or tomato sauce.
A crunchy, crusty center. Ooh.
Yeah. I got to try that. A piece of the puzzle, not the piece. No, she wasn't. They
Yeah.
actually made her not the woman of this thing. And the way they made Wanda's pretty much they made her the major bitch. Like the whole joke. I guess they've been looking at Twitter and people reviewers, like the fact that she has red powers, like she's always on her thing. They pretty much played off that meme. They played off that meme a lot. Like she's always raging in red. So they did take some pot shots if you didn't look at the layers properly. What was that?
Oh, that might be. But I have a new chair because I broke.
Oh my god, it looked like an animal. I thought that was an animal. Brett Cohen says it's the last Marvel thing I'll watch, so I'll see it in cinema. But after Mr. Gore's review and this, my expectations have obviously been fulfilled. Go see it in theaters and make your own decision.
Yeah.
I've watched it twice, and both times I can watch it, but when the way they're doing the cameos, because they're now taking cameos to a whole new retrospect with audio and everything else, it's I'm done with
They
Marvel.
feel like crutches, actually.
Yeah.
They don't feel like something that stands on its own, that's got its own incentive for fans to get excited about. It feels like it's a crutch to compel the core audience to come and see these little crumbs they're going to give you, but will never give you a satisfying meal, so to speak.
I feel like they've dumbed it down so normies can get it, but they've dumbed it down to the point where real fans are just irritated now.
Well, that's one of the things about something like an Intimate Fandom becoming mainstream, is that you have to reconcile with the casual fans that just like it for what it is and not for what it represents.
Yeah. Will says that's one thing that annoyed me. Why did nobody say to Wanda, is this what Vision would want? It wasn't until the very end Shaw was mentioned how she would take her kids away from the mother. That's the other thing that bothered me. Where's Vision in all of this?
Yeah, White Vision still processing all the download he got from fake Vision, I guess.
Insert cameo section, then move on. So it's not worth going to the theater for. If you're a Marvel fan, yes, and wait for Disney Plus. By the time it comes to Disney Plus, you'll know the whole movie. And while watching this stream, most people are being like, "Fuck Steven," at this point. But I honestly say give it your individual opinion first. If you want to go to the theater and see it and have a Friday off, or you want to buy tickets and go see it, do it. It's still a movie experience, and I think this would be something awesome. I think it comes out in IMAX. Give it the IMAX experience. Just bring your own popcorn.
For some of the visuals, I think absolutely they'd be stunning to see in IMAX. The problem is you have to kind of wade through some of the weirder, heavy exposition and the staggering narrative. But yeah, there's some really fantastic shots and special effects things, and some of the Raimi-isms that are in there. Because again, there's only maybe like 4.
Yeah.
Like it's not a lot, but when they happen, it takes you back to when you're a kid and you see the Evil Dead 1 and 2 for the first time, and you're like just completely thrown for a loop and thrilled by it as a result.
Question: does Wanda have a moment where she does realize how much she's fucked up during the events of WandaVision? Do you want to answer that?
Technically, yeah. In the scene where her kids defy her. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, but it doesn't make up for WandaVision.
It does not make up for WandaVision. Doesn't justify WandaVision's story the way it went. It's really like a very convoluted way of trying to turn WandaVision into a villain based on her grief of losing Vision.
Yeah, it's what Marvel is now. That's pretty much where we can sum it up. There's not enough Raimi in it, and unless they're going to give a Raimi cut, or there is a Raimi cut or an extended cut, it feels like it just feels not what it could have been. It feels like a Spider-Man 3 in a way.
Yeah, it feels more Marvel run as opposed to director driven, so to speak.
All names, no substance.
Yeah, it really does. It feels very much controlled. It feels like the writer probably directed 2/3 of this film, and then Raimi had to come in and shoot some stuff to make it work as best he could. Yeah, that's my speculation.
No. Well, we've almost gone as long as the movie. We actually described almost the whole movie in 2 hours, and it's 2 hours.
Well, we actually had way more commentary on the film, but yes, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
It has been fun. Thank you, Script. I do appreciate it. I'm glad you had time off. I'm so happy.
Yeah, me too. I don't stream as much as I used to. I'm disappointed with that, but hopefully that'll change in the next few months.
No, I mean, yeah. I honestly, yeah, it's been a good couple of days with Chuck yesterday and you coming on today. I feel like I'm getting back in a groove. And
yeah, and check out that interview with Chuck Dixon. Really good, guys, if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I can't wait till he comes back with that announcement. I can't wait. I can't say anything, but it's going to be good. If Doctor Strange wasn't a character I knew and like from pre-Endgame times, I wouldn't watch this. I'll watch Thor because I know him, but I expect to be disappointed. Thor is pretty much always trying to find himself. That's what's going on lately.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
It is. But I don't want to keep you. If there's nothing else in the chat, Script, do you have anything else to add or no? Or do you want to find you?
No, I'm all good. Thanks so much for having me on your channel today, sir. It's been great talking with you guys and reading some of the comments in the chat. Yeah, I hope this. Oh my God, get her butt out of my face.
Sorry. We will do it. We'll probably do another one when Love and Blunder comes out. That's the
yeah. I see. I've seen this film and I'm like wondering, will this break $1 billion at the box office? That's hard to tell.
I don't think so.
If it does, I'll be impressed. But yeah, it's interesting. Interesting indeed.
Yeah, especially with the fact that there's been leaks already out everywhere, and how we watched it, and it's just.
I don't think that didn't really affect Spider-Man too much, unfortunately. But,
no, it didn't. Oh, so I don't know.
Unfortunately, no. Fortunately, it did not affect Spider-Man. That's a good thing. Why am I saying unfortunately? Yeah, that was weird. Sorry, I had to take a
You've been hanging around us too long. It's all negative.
Yeah.
But I want to say thank you. Does this set the Strange or will Love and Thunder set the stage moving forward? This will set it forward for Doctor Strange. As for Love and Thunder, I hope it ends it ends the Thor everything because I'm tired of multiverses.
Multiverse is just the next version of the reboot and remake.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry to break it to you guys on that. It's the perfect excuse to justify making multiple films of the same character with different actors and different things.
And not having to deal with the estates, the creators, and everything else in between.
To a degree, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But guys, we're going to get out of here because I know Script is probably hungry and doesn't want to talk about this film ever again for a while, and I don't. But you guys have been great. Script, I can't thank you enough. For the mods, want to throw his YouTube channel in the chat. You guys know where to find him. And we're going to play the intro as the outro. Careful, it's loud. We're out.
They want to be that someone on the screen at last. They ain't looking inside for their needs in life. They want to be like by everybody in sight. But trust me, being free ain't spotlights. No, it's long nights and it's long fights with yourself all the time to get your mind right. But if you put in the work, you can find the light, alright? I'll do anything that I feel like I want.